Okay, today we're going to be looking at section 13.2, consumer credit. This is a section that has piqued my interest here lately in life as you take on more and more debt with credit cards and student loans. So I wanted to kind of make you aware of some of the background as far as what happens on the producer side, and then you as a consumer, what's happening on your side. So consumer credit, it first talks about the different types of credit. um, you have installment loans, which is a closed-end credit. So it says you borrow a set amount up front, and then you're going to pay equal payments over the life of the loan. And this is mainly used for cars, furniture, appliances, etc. And then we have a revolving loan. That's usually credit cards. So you can borrow up to a credit limit, and then you can, add and pay off as you go. And then there's no fixed number of payments, but you continue to pay until you no longer have a balance. So again, it tells you can add additional credit before paying off the full amount. And then it just tells you that these are usually department stores. You got MasterCard, Visa, etc. So this first installment loans is showing you how the payments are calculated. So you have what we call add-on interest. And so this is just telling you you have an amount to be repaid, which is the simple interest payment that we learned in 13.1. And then you have a certain time period, T years, that they estimate as far as how long you're going to be paying on this loan, and they compute the simple interest plus the amount borrowed, and that will give you the total amount that you have to pay at the end of the loan. So here's an example. Just telling you borrow $54,000. You're going to pay $1,100 down, and then you have a 5% interest, and that's going to be a 2-year term. So you're going to find the total amount to be repaid, the monthly payments, and then the total cost of the purchase, including financial charges. So they take the 54, they subtract the down payment. So this is how much is going to be financed. So then we're going to do the simple interest formula and add the principal. So if you multiply the amount financed times 1 plus the interest rate times the number of years, okay, you get that the amount financed is going to be increased by about $430. That's the interest you're going to be paying. You're going to take that amount and divide it by 24, and it's going to tell you how much the equal payments will be, the monthly payments will be over the course of the 2 years. And if you take the down payment that you paid, add the amount financed plus interest, it tells you the total amount that you paid for this purchase, and then it tells you that you're going to pay about 8% more than the original price tag in total. And you see that the interest rate was only 5%, but you end up paying 8% more, and so usually it's a lot higher than that. I like this example here. It really gives you a insight as far as what's happening. And then I want to do one calculation while I have you here talking about it. But this is pretty much the idea of the section. It says what's not in your wallet. So it says some consumers carry high balances on credit cards, and then they fall into the habit of paying only the monthly payment. They should read the statement carefully. The Credit Card Act of 2009 requires that credit card issuers disclose the minimum payment information. So then it says, for example, a Visa card charging 12.9% annual percentage rate with a balance of like around $3,000, so it's $2,994.82, has a initial minimum payment of just $60. Okay, so that sounds good. You got $33,000, you only got to pay $60 a month, but it tells you making only the minimum payment each month would result in total charges of $5,689 over a 16-year period. So you have a $3,000 balance, and if you only make the minimum payment, you're going to pay almost double. Okay, almost double. You're paying 5,000, almost $700. That's almost double. So let's see what percent that is. So the annual percentage rate is only 12%, but you're paying that every year that you have this balance, and over 16 years, you're going to pay quite a bit. So let me show you what that simple interest or the percent of increase when we talk about that as far as what the interest did. So we're going to take the new amount. This is one problem we learned. The new amount, which is the final that they're telling us, the 56.89 new amount minus the balance amount, the original amount, which is 2,994.82, and we're going to divide that by the original balance. So this is the percent of increase formula that we saw in the previous section. So this is telling you you're paying almost 89% more, like you almost doubled the original cost, 89% more, and that is with a 12% or 13% interest rate. Most credit cards have, I want to say, in the 20s interest rate, and so you're going to pay even more. So I want to encourage you guys, if you have credit cards, to pay them off as quickly as possible. Student loans have a lower interest rate, but any loan that you have, I would encourage you to pay more than the minimum payment to get rid of that loan as fast as possible to save yourself money, because these are designed to make money for the credit or the lender, and anybody with the business wants to make as much profit as possible, and so it looks good on the consumer side because we only have to pay 60, but in the long run we're going to be paying a lot more, and in this example it's 89% more. In many cases it's much worse than that because this is a low annual percentage rate. Most cards carry 18%, 21, almost to 30% interest on credit cards. So do check those out. But revolving loans, I want to go a little bit more in detail. It talks about itemized billing, finance charges, and balance methods. So this is what they usually do to compute the interest that you're going to pay per month. So this 1.3 is just the monthly balance, but if I took that 1.3 and multiplied it times 12, you can find out what your APR would be. So this would say this annual percentage rate is 15.6%, but they're charging you 1.3 per month. So over 12 months, you're going to pay a total of 15.6% on whatever your current balance is. And this is just a method that they do to maximize their profits on their end. So they take your balance, and sometimes you might make payments and it goes up and down. So they look at your monthly average, and so they're just showing you on March 3rd is when the billing date is, but you made a payment of 50. You bought some clothes, you made an internet order, and then you did something else. So they're looking at your balance over those the time period, and they're going to multiply that 1.3% times whatever balance is on that card, and then they will add those charges up to get a total here, and they divide it by 31 for however many days in a month, and this is the amount average on the daily balance, and they're going to multiply that by 1.3%, and that's how they compute the interest. So it's a lot that they do in the background, but they're doing this in a way to make profit and get as much profit as possible. So it definitely would, and here they go, they're telling you the annual rate is 15.6. So anyway, we're going to be doing very simple calculations here. The first example pretty much shows you everything we're going to do. We're going to find out how much we're going to finance, we're going to find out the monthly payment, and we're going to find out the total cost. And it's basically going to be using the formula that we learned in the previous section, which is simple interest and amount to be paid off. So anyway, I hope this is some good information for you. Please do take time and read through this section. There's a lot of great information, and I do hope that you will use this to your benefit This is one, again, section that I thought would probably be the most useful to you compared to all the other topics that we've covered in this section. All right, so with that, we're going to jump over to My Math Lab and solve these problems.